Coming to you from the sanctuary of Salem Lutheran Church here in Worcester, Ohio, we are glad you're here. Specifically, we'd like to welcome you to our Wednesday evening Lenten Bible study that will be taking place here every Wednesday night at 7 p.m. here on Zoom, and it'll also be viewable on our live stream on Facebook. If you'd like to just watch, that's fine. This Bible study is something that you can immerse yourself into. And if you'd like to join us, you can do so at any time by going to our website at www.slcw.org and clicking the link to join the group. On that same website, you can download the materials that we'll be using for this Bible study, which have been developed by the ELCA, Evangelical Lutheran Church in America, and they are from the Lent 2022 Bible Study Program entitled Away in the Wilderness. I've looked over this and I really think it's a great program. I hope you'll stick around and participate with the discussions. And right now, we're going to be getting started very shortly, but take a moment, unmute your mics, and say hi to the others that are in the room.
Hi.
Hello.
Hi.
Hi. Hi, Simone. Hi, Betty. Hi, Barbara.
Hi.
I want to go over just a few housekeeping moments or housekeeping issues or stuff that might make your experience during this live stream or, well, during the Zoom meeting more worthwhile. And that is the idea that if you're on a phone and you swipe all the way to the left until you see a whole bunch of screens, all the screens that are people that are participating, you can scroll through them and find SLCW Live. And if you do that and you double click on SLCW Live, it will become the main screen. It'll fill the screen. And by doing that, anything that we put up there for reading or reviewing will be easier to see instead of that really small box that you might have.
I'm on my tablet.
You're on your tablet? If you still swipe all the way left, you should have all the screens in the one window. And you just have to double tap on the one that says Away in the Wilderness right now. SLCW Live, Away in the Wilderness. Do you see them?
No, I'm not. It's not moving. It's
not moving. Oh, no. So it's not swiping? Swipe the other direction. See if it goes the other direction. Oh, now you muted yourself. Okay, now you're muted. Good.
What the heck is wrong with my screen? Let's see.
Simone went dark.
My picture of me is moving from side to side.
It is?
Yeah. There goes over there. There goes over there.
Okay, well, a whole bunch of screens should be on the same window. When you get to the right window, it should be over like the third window over.
Oh.
Swipe from right to left. Everybody's little. That's the right place to be. Everybody's little. Yep, and now you double tap. You double tap on the one that says Away in the Wilderness right now.
Okay.
Double tap on that. And it should enlarge to fill the screen, and then you might see yourself in the top left corner or top right corner or whatever.
No, I'm back. Oh. No, I haven't found. I found it on my phone. I tried phone.
Oh, you're talking about the live stream on your phone. Is that what you're looking at on your phone as a live stream? Because we're talking about the Zoom meeting. Okay.
Okay.
All right. Well, when I see you, on Sunday, I'll log into this on Sunday and we'll walk through how we get there, so that you'll be able to see how what we're talking about. But you have the
Okay.
paperwork, you have the booklet, right? You can read directly from that booklet.
I have.
Okay, because
Yeah.
we'll use you for reading from the booklet. We'll use Simone for reading from the other places. And if we get anybody else in here, we'll ask them to read some of the Bible readings right out of their own Bible if they want to do that kind of thing. All right. So now I move this over to here, and now your big screen should have my ugly mug in the middle of it with all the people's faces at the top.
Nope, I
So-
don't see anybody else.
You don't see anybody else but you? Or but
And
me?
you.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that I guess will work. If you see me, that's a start. And we'll go from there.
Okay.
All right. So this week, this is week 4 of our Bible study called, and the title of this week is called Transformed in the Wilderness. So it begins with several Bible readings. The first one is Joshua 5, 9 to 12. If anybody wants to volunteer to read that one, raise your hand or say, hey, I'll read that one. There's also Psalm 32. There's 2
I'll read
Corinthians.
Corinthians.
You'll read the 2 Corinthians 5, 16 to 21.
Yes.
Okay, and then the big one is Luke 15, 1 to 3, and then 11 to 32. I can read that one. I ain't afraid. I'll do that. All right, well, I'm going to put these words for the first reading up on the screen. So if you just wanted to read from the NRSV version of these readings, you could do that by reading off the screen, or you could read your own version. We'll follow along, and I'll change the page as we go. Or what? So is there a volunteer for the first reading of Joshua? Joshua 5, 9 to 12.
I'll read it. Just put it on the screen. I won't read it out of the King James.
Oh, you could. I mean, if you wanted.
I can.
Yeah, do that. And we'll follow along in this version and see how different it is.
All right.
Yeah. So Joshua 5, 9 through 12.
And the Lord said unto Joshua, this day have I rolled away the reproach of Egypt from off you. Wherefore the name of the place is called Gilgal unto this day. And the children of Israel encamped in Gilgal, and kept the Passover on the 14th day of the month at even in the plains of Jericho. And they did eat of the old corn of the land on the morrow after the Passover, unleavened cakes, and parched corn in the selfsame day. And the manna ceased on the morrow after they had eaten of the old corn of the land. Neither had the children of Israel manna any more, but they did eat of the fruit of the land of Canaan that year.
All right. So that's the first reading we have. And thank you very much, Simone.
You're welcome.
I'm like trying to think of this is something that this reading from the NRSV version had a comment made to it, and if I can pull that up real quick. Show taskbar. It was an email I sent to myself yesterday. And since it's not readily findable, I will not go there and worry about it today. So anyway, wow, that motorcycle was really loud. Anyway, the second reading for today is, goodness, I should probably turn the lights. Oh, you know what? We burned out some lights in here. There's 2 lights burned out. Psalm 32. Barbara, you were going to read that one.
Okay, but oh wait, let me find it.
What version were you going? What's the translation you're using?
This is the Message. It
The
says
Message. Okay.
the Message. It says, count yourself lucky. God holds nothing against you, and you're holding nothing back from him. I mean that. What read your version you have?
Well, you just read one sentence out of it, but okay. Mine says, and this is the NRSV version. Mine says, "Happy are those whose transgression is forgiven, whose sin is covered."
I like that translation. Rather than lucky. Yeah.
Are you going to continue on Psalm 32? Because it's the whole psalm.
Oh, it is?
Yeah, it's the whole psalm is the
I
reading.
see that too. Oh my goodness. Okay, Psalm 32. Count yourself. Okay, I did read that. Oh yeah, count yourself. How happy you must be. You get a fresh start and your slate is wiped clean. When I kept it all inside, my bones turned to powder. My words became day-long groans. The pressure never let up. All the juices of my life dried up. Then I let it all out. I said, I'll make a clean breast of my failures to God. Suddenly the pressure was gone. My guilt dissolved. My sin disappeared. These things add up. Every one of us needs to pray. When all hell breaks loose and the dam bursts, we'll be on high ground untouched. God's my island hideaway, keeps danger far from the shore, throws garlands of hosannas around my neck. Let me give you some good advice. I'm looking you in the eye and giving it to you straight. Don't be, my words, don't be ornery like a horse or mule that needs bit and bridle to stay on track. God defiers are always in trouble. God affirmers find themselves loved every time they turn around. Celebrate God, sing together, everyone. All you honest hearts, raise the roof.
Yeah. It seems as though that the message is it's a thought for thought, but they really don't play when they're talking about paraphrasing. They aren't using the words even close to what the NRSV version was using.
Right,
I don't know
right.
how does the King James compare in Psalm 32?
Oh, yes, I want to hear.
It starts with blessed. Blessed is he whose transgression is forgiven, whose sin is covered. Blessed is the man unto whom the Lord imputeth not iniquity, and in whose spirit there is no guile. It's kind of probably goes along more with it. The new what Barb? What version of the Bible is that? If you
It's
don't
the
mind?
Message.
The Message.
Yeah.
Never heard
Yeah,
of
but
it.
it's a translation that my understanding, it's a paraphrased Bible.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is my understanding is they
It's
go
a-
for
yes,
a
it's
kind
the
of thought and then they
Bible
paraphrase it.
contemporary language.
Oh, it was definitely paraphrased. Yes.
It is very paraphrased.
Yeah, it
It's
was
not,
definitely.
it's not my first choice.
Yeah.
But I'm sitting in my living room and I needed something that I could manage on my lap.
Okay.
Gotcha.
Okay, I understand that completely.
Yeah.
Okay, well, thank you. Let's see, what is the third reading? Is 2 Corinthians 5, 16 to 21.
Oh. Oh.
I think I'll pass reading it from this message. It's confusing.
I'll read it.
Thank you.
Wait, I have, oh, 5, 16. Oh. Okay. Let's see. What is it? Through 21. Okay. 2 Corinthians, is that correct? 5:16.
Yep, chapter 5, starting at 16, ending at 21.
Okay. Wherefore, henceforth, know we no man after the flesh. Yea, though we have known Christ after the flesh, yet now henceforth know we him no more. Therefore, if any man be in Christ, he is a new creature. Old things are passed away. Behold, all things are become new. And all things are of God, who hath reconciled us to himself by Jesus Christ, and hath given to the ministry to, and hath given to us the ministry of reconciliation, to wit, that God was in Christ, reconciling the world unto himself, not imputing their trespasses unto them, and hath committed unto us the word of reconciliation. Now then, we are ambassadors for Christ, as though God did beseech you by us. We pray you, in Christ's stead, ye be reconciled to God. For he hath made him to be sin for us, who knew no sin, that we might be made the righteousness of God in him. That's still
Alrighty.
from King James.
Thank
That is
you.
definitely from King James.
Yes.
All right, we're going to do this. We're getting out of here and starting over on this idea. Terrible idea, Jim. Setting stuff up like this midstream. All right. So that is the 16 to 21, and I didn't keep up with you because I was in deep thought over here trying to set up another window, and it didn't work out for me. So there you go. That's always nice. So let's remove this pin, and we'll go and just do the reading. All right. So Luke 15, verses 1 through 3, and then 11 through 32. Now all the tax collectors and sinners were coming near to listen to him, and the Pharisees and the scribes were grumbling and saying, "This fellow welcomes sinners and eats with them." So he told them this parable. Now, just to make mention of this, the beginning of the parable is verse 4, but we jumped to verse 11, and I'm not quite sure why. I'm going to open up a Bible and read the 4 through 11 and see what else is said. But this is the parable that he said. There was a man who had 2 sons. The younger of them said to his father, "Father, give me the share of the property that will belong to me." So he divided his property between them. A few days later, the younger son gathered all he had and traveled to a distant country, and there he squandered his property in dissolute living. When he had spent everything, a severe famine took place throughout that country, and he began to be in need. So he went and hired himself out to one of the citizens of that country, who sent him to his fields to feed the pigs. He would gladly have filled himself with the pods that the pigs were eating, and no one gave him anything. But when he came to himself, he said, "How many of my father's hired hands have bread enough and to spare? But here I am dying of hunger. I will get up and go to my father, and I will say to him, 'Father, I have sinned against heaven and before you. I am no longer worthy to be called your son. Treat me like one of your hired hands.' So he set off and went to his father. But while he was still far off, his father saw him and was filled with compassion. He ran and put his arms around him and kissed him. Then the son said to him, Father, I have sinned against heaven and before you. I am no longer worthy to be called your son. But the father said to his slaves, quickly bring out a robe, the best one. Put it on him, put a ring on his finger and sandals on his feet, and get the fatted calf and kill it. Let us eat and celebrate. For this son of mine was dead and is alive again. He was lost and is found. And they began to celebrate. Now his elder son was in the field, and when he came and approached the house, he heard music and dancing. He called one of the slaves and asked what was going on. He replied, your brother has come, and your father has killed the fatted calf because he has got him back safe and sound. Then he became angry and refused to go in. His father came out and began to plead with him. But he answered his father, listen, for all these years I've been working like a slave for you, and I've never disobeyed your command. Yet you have never given me even a young goat so that I might celebrate with my friends. But when this son of yours came back, this son of yours, who has devoured your property with prostitutes, you killed the fatted calf for him. Then the father said to him, son, you are always with me, and all that is mine is yours. But we had to celebrate and rejoice because this brother of yours was dead and has come to life. He was lost and now has been found. So, the Sunday service of this past Sunday, if you weren't in attendance or were unable to attend, it is available via live stream or the replay of that live stream on Facebook or from our YouTube page, which also plays our live streams as a premiere later on in the evening. Like this will also play later on this evening. So this past Sunday service, the pastor preached on this very lesson. And I thought it was a great sermon. And if you take a moment, not right now, but if you take a moment sometime later this week and you want to delve a little bit deeper into the story and some of the background and some of the things that the pastor brought up is truly interesting content, you might want to take a moment and listen to that sermon. That was a sermon from the fourth week of Lent, this past Sunday, the 29th, I believe. What is today?
Today is the 30th.
It wasn't the 29th.
Is it
It was like the 28th? Is that what it was? 27th. Thank you, Gloria. All right. Okay, so that lesson talks about a son that ran off and squandered all of his inheritance, and when he returned, his father celebrates. And the people that his family that was left at home and was with him throughout that whole entire time were upset with him. One of the other son that spoke up and said, hey, what's up with this? I do everything you ask of me. I do everything that you tell me to do. And here you won't even give me a calf. You did this fatted, you did everything for this guy. And he basically spent all your inheritance on prostitutes. What kind of logic is that? And the message was, he was lost. We lost him. He went off to do his own thing and was the worst thing that ever happened to him, right? So now he's back. Let's celebrate. We don't want to focus on what he did. We don't want to focus on the prostitutes he was hanging out with. We instead want to focus on the fact that he's been found. And I think that is kind of the message that's trying to get across to us during this Lenten season, is
Right.
that we're all lost. And Jesus came and during the Lenten days was in the process of preparing to find us, to rescue us from ourselves.
Right.
Just like the father was cool with the son being rescued. So oh, jeepers, I just yanked my own camera. You're going to see me fly all over the place here. Okay, here we go. My headphones are in and I just yanked them. All right, let me read some of the things that this pamphlet or this notebook is talking about. Or Barb, would you like to read from the book?
Yes.
Okay, go for it.
The reading from Joshua for this week is brief, but it recounts the time the Hebrews who left Egypt under God's care had so longed to see the end of their exodus and the beginning of their life in the promised land of Canaan. No longer would their food rain down from the heavens. Now they would be fed by their own produce. The manna ceased on the day they ate the produce of the land, and the Israelites no longer had manna. They ate the crops of the land, Canaan, that year. Certainly, the people's entrance into the promised land is not the end of their dependence on God. Their food may no longer miraculously fall from the sky, but a new miracle springs from the land God created and is nurtured by farmers who embody God's creative care. Settling in Canaan is just the beginning of the story of God's people, not the end. You want me to go on?
Sure, yes. Unless you want me to take over for a little bit.
Okay. But there is a transformation in the now settled people, evident in the difference between manna from heaven and the crops of the land. In the common language of today's world, we might call this the difference between charity and self-sufficiency. Okay, go ahead.
Okay. The church has been involved in responding to human need, especially hunger, since its very beginning. The sacrament of Holy Communion began as a full meal in the Christian community, particularly for those who otherwise might not have been able to feed themselves. By the 2nd and 3rd centuries, care for people who were hungry or poor was so central to the church's identity that bishops, whose roles included managing the church's social ministries, were sometimes called lovers of the poor. Feeding people who hunger is still crucial to the church's identity. Our latest survey data shows that well over 70% of ELCA congregations participate in direct feeding ministries. Early numbers indicate that over 95% of congregations participate in some form of response to hunger. Feeding ministries can be crucial lifelines for the more than 38 million people in the United States who are uncertain of their next meal. During the first months of the COVID-19 pandemic in 2020, with sudden job loss and supply chain shortages, feeding ministries such as these swiftly adapted to meet the exploding need. This was critical support, particularly for those neighbors unable to access social safety net programs such as SNAP or the federal stimulus payments. Barb, you want to continue?
Yes, thank you.
Okay.
Feeding ministries stand at the forefront of hunger work, providing opportunities for neighbors to build relationships and for communities to draw together toward effective solutions. But ending hunger requires more. As theologian Samuel Torvin has written, in addition to charitable response is discerning why people are suffering in the first place. And that moves us from charitable giving into asking the larger question, which is, why is there injustice? What is within the larger system in which people live that produces this kind of suffering? Behind the long lines at food pantries and the pallets of goods at food banks lies the reality that ending hunger will require more than food. There are some times when we must focus our efforts together on meeting immediate need. But at all times, the church is called to something more. Okay.
Okay, I'll continue then. The church's work in hunger responds not only to the problem, but to the promise. We know by faith that hunger is not what God intends, that the one who created and sustains us is leading us to a future in which all will be fed. As surely as God led our ancestors through the desert to the promised land, the response of the church is rooted in the larger witness of faith, holding that the systems and conditions that create scarcity are wrong, and that we can still create a life of security and sufficiency, even on this side of the fullness of God's reign. In Pueblo County, Colorado, Posada accompanies neighbors who experience homelessness as they work together toward their vision. With support from ELCA World Hunger, the sponsor of this Bible study, Posada aspires to provide for the immediate needs of people who lack stable housing while enabling them to address the problems that have led to their situation. Daniel is one of the many people Posada has worked with to secure housing. Assisted by Posada, Daniel was able to transition from a long-term care facility to stable housing that he can call his own. Posada continues to work with him so that he can pay for utilities. Taking over, Barb.
Okay, Posada helps neighbors meet their most immediate needs, connecting them to programs that offer funds for food and shelter. But the work doesn't stop there. Posada works with neighbors to secure the housing, support, and stability they will need to thrive in the future. As Moses and the Hebrews left Egypt, they were sustained by God's gift of manna. The food from heaven satisfied their hunger and helped them survive their time in the wilderness. But God had more in store for them, not just an end to their hunger, but a new life and hope, a future as a people renewed in their relationship to God, to each other, and to a land they could call their own. Eating their fill of manna was not the end, but the means, allowing them to reach a place where they would thrive on the crops of the land.
Hey, I'll finish it up.
Please.
All right. Amid our own trial and challenge during a pandemic that stretched our food systems and charitable ministries to near capacity, we might forget the vision that inspires the church's hunger ministries in the first place. But during Lent, a season of self-reflection and renewal, the crossing over of the Hebrews from the wilderness to Gilgal, where they would become the nation Israel, reminds us that the vision, reminds us of that vision. Man, I'm doing a great job reading. We cling to this promise that God will provide not just manna today, but crops of the land tomorrow, granting us a new opportunity to build community and share in God's journey toward a just world where all are fed. This is the vision that inspires, motivates, and shapes the many ways this church is active in the world, responding not just to the problem of hunger, but to the promise of God for a future in which all who are weary from journeying, from struggling, from working, from waiting, will find rest.
Amen.
Amen. Now, I think as we talk about the ministry we take part in, the Zion meal that we do, what is it, every 6 weeks or every other
month? Every other month.
Every other third Sunday.
Right.
That's just.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. So, but yeah, I think one of the things that I don't know if you've found kind of weird, I've found it kind of weird when we do the meal, is the people that are helping out are fed. we as volunteers, we get a good meal out of the deal. It's like it doesn't hurt to go help out with a meal because we end up being filled. And I don't know, figuratively or realistically or really, that's what's happening when we do that kind of ministry, is we're filling ourselves in the process. So let's move to the questions that they have for us today. I will merge that right there. All righty, so the first question is, what does home mean to you? And what do you think it meant for the Israelite?
Israelite.
Thank you. Israelites to settle in their new home and to eat the crops of their own land.
Hmm. Content, safe, and I think for them that it was safe and content. For me, it's like a sanctuary, my own.
And when I bought my house, I guess it's going on 20 some years ago, I guess. I
Yeah.
can't figure out the year I bought it. I never can figure that out. But I remember the first summer sitting on my patio. I hadn't gone through 20 years of mowing my lawn or dealing with the weeds or dealing with the the poison ivy that kind of stretched across my yard and up my house, or the bee hives that were underground that I would step on or mow over and get stung like crazy, or the beehives that would find in my wall at my house. I didn't have any of that experience yet. I sat there with my feet up and looked out and said, "Yep, this is cool." That's what home felt like. Yeah, so there's that. And being able to take care of it myself and being able to mow it myself and having a place for Candace to come and be able to get away from all her craziness, that was home. It worked for me. Anybody else want to share what they think of as home?
I think it's peace of mind.
Peace of mind?
Peace of mind and peace of body. You know, in
Peace-
spirit and in joy.
Okay.
The family, the things that you may have, contentment, loving, friendship. I think those are things of home.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
When you moved into your new home and first met your neighbors, I'm sure that was an exciting moment.
It was, but I met my neighbors before I moved into the house.
Oh, that's right. You were volunteering with them, weren't you?
Yeah, we all volunteered together. We all met to set up the house, the rooms and everything like that before we even started building.
Wow.
And we're all still friends, even though the ones that have left, we're all still friends now. We see each other, we yell at each other, greet each other, see what's been happening, in their lives since we last saw them.
That's awesome, good stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So your group of folks were kind of like the Israelites in the desert,
Yep.
working toward that promise.
Yep. And just like that young son, the youngest son, we
Mhm.
had our share of people like that too, that sort of kind of abused the privilege of not so much abused the privilege, but didn't know of the privilege of having and being in a home. They had moved about so often till they didn't really understand the value. And just like him, they eventually came back, found their way back. Yep.
Yeah, but an agency I used to work with, CSS, entered into the housing market for mentally ill folks, and the buildings they got built, they're like 2 10-story high rises on the what is the east side of Akron, or is that where it's at? Northeast side of Akron. the folks that are in those apartments are probably a lot of the folks that would go and squander. They had a lot of problems keeping housing in the past. That was one of the reasons they developed the housing project that they did, because they were going to have support and help right there on the scene. And when I first walked into that building, I was like, can I get an apartment here? This is wonderful. It was beautiful. A main living area, a huge gathering place. We actually planned on having a musical gig there. And just the atmosphere of the place was just so open and refreshing. If you ever get a chance, go check out those. What are they called? Simone, do you remember the name of the place? I can't for some reason know.
It's not, I know exactly where you're talking about. I can't remember the name. I can't.
Yeah, I just went blank on the name.
Yeah.
Which reminds me, I have to get back up there. We used to, several members of my band used to go up there for encouraging some of the residents there to organize and participate in creating music. And during the pandemic, we got locked out, and I guess we forgot about checking back to see if we could get back in. So I think I need to do that in the near future and harass my buddies to go out there and see if we can get that band reorganized and practicing again. It was only a 2-member band. We joked about them being very much like the other Akron band that's a 2-man band. Are you guys familiar with that band?
No.
It's called the Black Keys. A drummer and a bass guitarist. Whale.
Oh, I've heard of them.
Yeah, you have heard of them. And they have a strange connection to us in the mental health field as well. Their name came from one of our clients. He used to always yell at them. He was a resident of one of their apartment buildings that they had worked at as, just regular kind of groundskeepers. And these brothers would always be assaulted basically by this one resident who would say, you black key, you a black key. Something's off. Something's off with you. And he would just go off on this tirade of basically attacking them for not jumping when he had demanded something. And they became really good friends with him, and later on named their band after him and the name that he called them, because they were the Black Keys. They're just a little bit off. And they're just amazing talent. And if you ever get to listen to their music, please do. They're awesome. They're Akron's own Black Keys.
Yep.
And they actually played a tribute concert for Alfred when he had passed away. We had several people step up and tell stories about Alfred and the interesting things that he would do. I'll have to find a video of the best eulogy from a friend of mine and share that sometime. But maybe on his anniversary of that day. But yeah, I think they raised a couple $1,000 for Alfred and the fund that they created for him at CSS.
Wow.
That's nice.
I remember that.
Do you remember that?
I heard about it. Was it Jim that did it?
Jim Gargan. Yeah, Jim Gargan was the one that
I
did
heard
that
about
speech.
that. I like him a lot. I remember him well.
He's an amazing speaker. There has not been a time that I've heard him tell a story that you didn't laugh, you didn't cry, and you didn't just want to hear it again.
Yeah. I don't think I ever heard any of his stories. I worked with him a little bit when he worked at CSS, but yeah.
Yeah, he was a good soul.
I know that.
Don't act like he's gone. He's still a good soul. He's around.
I know.
Pretty sure.
He's still at the VA.
He is still working for the VA.
Okay.
Now, the very first year that CSS had an art contest, I entered that art contest. And the very thing when they said these are the requirements for the piece of art, it has to represent something about CSS. If you saw this picture, you'd say CSS. The very thing that came across my mind was a photo of Alfred. And I asked him to be my model, to photograph him in his glory, standing in front of CSS and I presented as part of my art a life-size photo of Alfred smoking his pipe in his 17 trench coats. And when I took the very moment I took the picture, Alfred started asking me, okay, when are you going to give me the winnings? This is Alfred. This is how he works. I mean, he would say, well, you're going to win, so when are you going to give me the prize? And I said, well, you get 100% of the prize. If I win, you get the prize. Because I didn't think I was going to win. Well, I did. I won. They selected my photo as the winner that year for the very first CSS art contest. And it's still hanging at CSS. And I believe the main lobby is where they put it. I don't know if they moved it or not. They've had a lot more art contests since then. And I'm sure they have a lot more winners. Well, Alfred may still be in that lobby. I don't know. But
You wanna know something crazy, Tim? I remember seeing that in the lobby because I went to CSS quite a bit. And I used to chit chat there in the lobby with the receptionist. I didn't know you did that. I didn't even go
Yeah,
up and
that was-
see the corner.
it was Alfred. Alfred, it's all Alfred. Don't bring me into that conversation. That was all Alfred.
But it was good. That was good. I didn't know you did. Okay.
Well, the more you know.
Yeah.
Did you give him the winning?
Oh yes, I never touched it. It was handed directly to him. he was all up there. He says, "Okay, give it to me, give it to me." It was like a $50 gift card or something, is what it was.
Good man.
But he was
Tim.
ready for it. He was ready for it. He was a true character. I don't know. We're getting off topic, but I think talking about Alfred isn't a terrible thing. He was what they call a primitive artist, and his illness just got him focused on death. And he would draw with crayons and markers on huge spools of paper. And he would just start by rolling out a little sliver of paper. It was a newspaper roll, the same type of rolls that they would use for printing newspaper. So he would roll it out. He would go to the newspaper and say, I want to roll your paper. And it's probably 500, 600 feet long. And he would then go to his apartment and roll out a little bit, draw for a few hours, and then roll it back up. And then continue rolling out a little bit more, rolling out, draw a little bit more. And he had like 30 or 40 of these full 500-foot rolls of primitive art, is how the art community calls it. And he was getting older, and he was having trouble. His Social Security got discontinued or something because of a weird accident or something. He failed to show up for a renewal, and we decided we were going to present this to the art museum and ask them if they would host a show. And they said, yes, we'd love to show this art. The problem is when they said, we'd like to cut this piece out of your roll, Alfred went ballistic. He said, no, it's one piece. It doesn't get cut up. And they were trying to figure out how they're going to display a 500-foot roll of paper in a museum so that they could, and then how do you sell that? How do you break it into pieces and sell it when the artist himself doesn't want you to do that? Finally, he got enough gumption, or I think it was Jim Gargan, that talked him into cutting a few of the pieces out. He loved paint or drawing really overweight sheriff deputies with high heels and earrings. He really and always, if he drew you in a casket, he liked you. That was a sign that you were in good with Alfred, if he would draw you lying in a casket. And he would draw these huge, I mean, it was almost like those parades in Mardi Gras, that they have all these folks running around in wild outfits and a funeral procession. He would draw the whole entire funeral procession. You know, horse-drawn carriages, marching bands, all kinds of craziness that was in these rolls. And as you rolled them out, and as you looked at another section of it, you would just go, oh my goodness, this is amazing. And the detail that he would draw into these pictures was just, I still am dumbfounded by it. Truly a genius artist. It was a genius. Unfortunately, he also suffered from schizophrenia, which made it impossible for him to do anything that could make him money other than the art that probably is made. There is actually a piece of his art in the Louvre in Paris.
No kidding.
There is. I believe from that art show that they had one of the procurement people bought several pieces of that project, and they took it back to France to do in the Louvre. So he is a famous artist, and we all knew it. And I can remember the day we were trying to talk him into cutting up certain pieces. Like there was one sheriff's deputy that everybody could recognize in high heels and a dress, and we wanted him to separate that and to sell it because it was just so hilarious. We could all recognize this guy. We just wanted to put it out there in the public. And he was like, "No, you're not cutting that out. You got to remain. You got to leave the horse and carriage. You got to leave the casket. You got to leave the marching band." And it was like, "Well, we can't sell that. That's 30 feet long. We can't sell that." But he finally said yes, and I think that's one of the pieces that are hanging at CSS too, the sheriff. So yeah, I think we posted that as one of the art entries. Anyway, sorry about that sidetrack. Let's go back to the PowerPoint and see what question number 2 is.
Thanks for sharing that.
Yeah, well, all righty. All right, so now how might uncertainty about housing impact other aspects of someone's life? I think that's kind of an obvious question, but what do you think, Gloria?
Uncertainty would have a big impact on your life because you don't know what road you will be traveling. It's confusion.
Yeah.
It's terrible.
Yeah, well, you think about it. I mean, if you're homeless, you don't have a way to bathe. You don't have a place to rest your head.
All right, that's it.
You don't have a place to store your belongings.
Right.
And you need to somehow work your way out of that. Now, if you don't have a place to shower, you don't have a place to put your belongings, you don't have a place to sleep, how are you going to get prepared for an interview? How are you going to present yourself in any somewhat of a semblance of a good way to a potential employer if you're going to walk in there stinking because you've been stuck under a bridge for a week? I'm sure it makes that roadblock even higher.
Mm-hmm.
I can't imagine. I don't ever want to imagine.
Yeah.
That's why we have to be thankful for the organizations that have those things available to the homeless. Food, shelter, showers, even help with mental health.
Yep.
That's
Right.
important too.
Yeah, not enough. There's not enough.
There's just not enough. There's so much need.
There's not enough.
There's just no way to fill it.
Right.
Yeah, I work for an agency too, and yeah, they're unsure of stability, like Tim said, or where to put their things, or they don't want to go back to, in some cases, for the population I worked with, they don't want to go back to a place that was bad for them or to them. So whether it's the area or the people in it, unfortunately, so there's that. But definitely, you want to have somewhere where, at least for that moment, your stuff is there, you're safe. I worked for Oriana House, and one of the programs I worked at, I remember clearly clients would tell me, even being there, they liked being there because it was safe. It was sure. I don't know if that makes any sense, but, So yes, there's some stability. They feel stable, and they feel, even though that's not where I work, it's not really home. We don't want to think it's home, but it's stable and it's safe.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And that's what home, I mean, even if they get their own place, all of us, you want to feel stable and safe. I
Right.
moved
Mhm.
from where I was at to where I'm at now because I didn't feel safe. So I moved.
Hmm.
So yeah, there's a lot with home, and it's not even, I don't know, there's so much. I don't know. I don't want to, they say home is where the heart is. you know. So yeah. I don't want to, yeah, I'm good.
Okay.
Anything else to say?
Okay.
I'm good.
All
I
right. Well,
imagine they experience a lot of anxiety.
Right.
with the idea that we have the oh heck, I just have I have to rename something here. The Oriana House having their services that are available or temporary services, right? They're not something that somebody's going to move into
Mm-mm.
and be able to utilize over a long period of time. They have to get in and get out.
Right.
So it's kind of one of those kind of a negative situation all the way around. So you have somebody that comes in that's homeless, and you give them a place that's safe and secure, but now you give them a deadline that they have to have something all set up for them when they're about ready to leave, or they're graduating, they're
Yeah.
completing something, they're being successful, and look where I have to go after I'm done here.
Well, that was my point, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, they don't, and that used to bother me too. I mean, and that's why I said we need more places like this because there's people that do. Have that need.
Mhm.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that need is way too much, and
Yeah.
that housing project that we were talking about that house the folks that, like, I've known several folks that had burned down apartments because they were just unable to do the things that we take for granted, like cook without setting fire to the place.
Mhm.
And they had several incidences where they were locked out and unable to stay. And it's a terrible scenario.
Yeah, it is for sure. Yeah, they need to get some more places. I know, there's some like houses. I know I thought CSS used to have a house that if they went, they had a room, but they had a cook and they had it was on it because we actually had a couple of clients go there, but they
Are
loved
you
it.
talking about like Terry House?
Yeah, but it wasn't Terry House, Tim. I can't remember. It was out in Ellet, out in can't think of the name of it because one of your guys went there.
I know exactly what you're talking about.
You know what I'm talking
I can't remember.
about?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. But it was nice because they didn't have to think about that stuff. Not a lot of it.
Yeah, and they also had the guy that helped run the place that was kind of a security guard and would beat the crap out of anybody breaking into the place. That was
Yeah,
oh my goodness, who was that? What's his name? Why did I just go blank?
I can't think of it.
Oh my goodness.
We sent a couple of guys there and they loved it. I can't
He
think
was
of
a preacher. and he was a security guard at CSS for the longest time. And when they opened this supportive housing arrangement, he
Yeah.
decided that was his calling, and he went to become the guy living there with the folks and helping them. And he was a no guff kind of person. He would prevent fights. He would stop crime. He would remove drugs and do it while everybody was laughing because he was cracking a joke in the process. It's right.
That sounds like it was his calling.
It was definitely his calling.
Mhm.
I believe he still does it, doesn't he? Or did he retire?
I have no idea. I don't know.
I asked him to be my friend on Facebook years ago, and I I actually messaged him like last year and said, "Hey, I get it. You don't want to be my friend on Facebook. You hate me." I thought that would get him to respond. Nothing. Not a thing. I don't think he ever looks to see who's asking to be his friend on Facebook. He wasn't a techno geek, so
Yeah,
I
some
shouldn't be
people
feeling
aren't.
sorry.
I asked Barb to be my friend. She hasn't answered me yet.
Oh, wow. Did Barb hear that, or is she asleep?
He's quiet.
I think she went to sleep. Oh, she disappeared. I hope she didn't get mad at that conversation. Hopefully she'll be back.
Oh,
Had to take a break.
The funny thing is that I think Zoom is having trouble right now because our original connection to Zoom crashed like 3 times during the last conversation, and I had to restart it. So,
oh yeah, I see it. The SLCW live is frozen.
yeah, you have to go and select a different SLCW Live. I had recreated it. So go and find SLCW Live again and double click on it to open it up. That's the one that has you and me on the screen right now.
Oh,
I see both of you.
You see both? Yeah, because I
Simone.
selected her and me and pinned us both. So, yes. All right, let's move on to question number 3. We'll go to the PowerPoint slide, and that question is, what might Posada's ministry say about what it means to be the people of God? How does addressing housing insecurity reflect the church's calling to be the people of God? We're running out of people here. We got to have, I guess, it's all you, Simone. You're going to be answering all the questions.
I'm not going to answer all the questions.
We only have 17 more.
Oh no.
I'm kidding. There's only one more.
Lying. I wouldn't answer all of them.
Well, I sent a message to Barb and said, come back. I don't know if she left because it's after 8. It might be. That might be why she left. It came to a time where she had to leave us. But anyway, some of these questions I wonder why they ask. I mean, of course, the Posadas program, the Posada ministry helping people with housing is what the church needs to do. I think this is a much better avenue of getting homelessness addressed than depending on the government, because every time someone says, we're the government, we're here to help, everybody should run. Everybody should run and hide when that happens. So, having the church do this work is the best way to address it. And yes, the government can subsidize church programs and help them with assigning funds to these programs that are obviously worthwhile, but I think it's the work of the church. I think it's been the work of the church since the beginning of Christian days. I don't see why we can't continue it. We just can't seem to solve it. I guess that's the answer.
Yep.
Yes, it's tough. It is. I mean, I just, they need to, I don't know. We need more help. We need more houses or group homes, or at least where someone can get started.
I've considered doing something like this and investing in some like halfway houses or or housing that has supplemental or supportive assistance. One of my coworkers did this. When she retired from the Summit County Adult Probation, she opened up 3 houses and started inviting folks that were less fortunate to live in them, and was subsidized by the government. And after about 3 years, all 3 houses burned to the ground.
Wow.
It was a terrible scenario. She was, just totally distraught. Her husband was going through some major medical issues at the time, so she didn't have the time to address any of it. It was just, there are some major hurdles that you have to overcome when you go into this kind of work.
Right.
And providing this kind of service has its risks and huge expenses to them. Hey, Barb's coming back.
I'm back. I'm on my phone.
Okay. Did
Aw.
your tablet die?
Oh, there I see you. I see you. Hi.
Thought he scared you away. He
Yeah,
scared
we
you.
were
no.
we were
No,
we
you
were
didn't.
teasing you and asked if you were asleep. And then you disappeared right away. It's like, oh no, we insulted her. She ran.
I have somebody trying to call me, and I just said I'll talk later.
Oh, okay. All right, we are going a little bit late. Let's get to the 4th question. 4th question. All right. Consider your community. What housing issues do you and your neighbors face? How might your congregation be part of addressing these issues? Now, I know I've mentioned this 100 times before, but my mother was one of the initiators of what is called the Hospitality Network in PA. And her mission was simple: to get churches to volunteer to assist homeless people, homeless families with housing by using their church. And it wouldn't be a long-term thing. It wouldn't be a event that would be, hey, you're going to stay here 6 months. No, it'd be a weekend. We're giving you a weekend. We'll give you 3 meals. We'll have people there all 24 hours a day while you're there. We'll try to connect you with resources that we have access to. And unfortunately, we have to let you go in 3 days. Well, my mom had created a process of being able to have these folks kind of like be handed off to the next church, and people could spend 3 days at one church, go to the next one, 3 days at the next church, and all these churches were joining in. I think she had a total of 150 churches in the Pittsburgh area. So you could actually stay for 3 days, like going to a hotel every 3 days. I'm sure that was a major crisis situation for the family every single time they had to move. But the idea is you could basically live a whole half year without paying rent, without having need for food or shelter through the churches in the area. You just needed to be able to get to that next church. And they would have you on that continuous cycle that you could move to this church and then this church and this church. And if they didn't need that, we have an open availability at this church. And her organizational skills are well beyond mine, but that was what she did. I don't know if we could do that in this area, but it sounds like it might be an idea that we might want to at least maybe ponder. I know Hospitality Network is a thing. I think it's a national organization now, but I'm not quite sure how to connect with it. So we'll have to do some research and see if it's just a Pennsylvania thing or it is a national organization. Well, being that it's like 8:10 or something of that size, yeah, it's 8:11. The last slide here is of the prayer that we have to say. Is there anything that anyone has to say that they'd like to submit for the good of the order before we leave and before we plan on coming back next week for the final week before Holy Week?
Wow.
Yeah, can you believe it? We're already up to week 5. I'm kind of dumbfounded by this.
Me too.
Easter's coming way too soon this year.
Yeah. All the places that you were talking about sound really nice.
You're talking about the housing placements that we talked about.
The housing placements. Yeah, they sound really nice.
Yeah. I would say they are. And we could benefit from assisting those programs. Heck, I'm sure CSS has some sort of a fund that we could give to support those programs in Akron.
I was just getting ready to say that there are several programs, housing programs in Akron and surrounding areas that would really love support. I support a lot of them, you know, whether it's monetary or just donations of basic needs. They appreciate all those things. I just took a couple of bags of stuff somewhere. I mean, just because, you know, they appreciate it and they need it. So definitely, yeah. I have a particular women's shelter. It's like a safe haven for women who have children or they find themselves displaced or they don't have anywhere to go, like Tim was talking about his mom kind of arranging that with the churches. And this little house is just tucked away, you know, you just have to know it's there, you know, and I take stuff there, you know, that I know they can use, you know, jogging suits, or they may not even have, you know, dry clothes, you know what I mean? Just basic things,
clothes.
Just basic things. And
I do that with the battered women's shelter.
I donate a lot there. Thank you. I really do. I donate there a lot. Yes.
Being that I can't remember names tonight, I'm trying to remember the name of the lady that runs the battered women's shelters of Summit and Medina counties. She just recently retired.
Yes, she did.
Yes, she did.
What was her name? Pat? No, what was it?
No, that wasn't it. It just completely went out of my head. It's because
I'm glad I could help.
I'm old.
I had the pleasure of meeting her, name unknown, as part of our.
I gotta look it up now.
We had a program that was the leadership development program that I got sent to. Oh my goodness, I'm forgetting the name of it. It was through the Children's Services Program, and it was developed based on the lack of communication between agencies that led to the death of a child in foster care. And they created this program to start having community leaders meet and communicate and talk. And that program became kind of like you go through that program and you have all kinds of support and know who to talk to if you run into a situation. Barb's outside.
Oh, my neighbor called me twice, and I wasn't answering her, and so she
came over to check on you.
Yeah, she did. Yeah, we have neighborhood watch here.
Terry Heckman.
Yeah, Terry Heckman. Yes.
Terry Heckman. Yeah.
That's the lady.
As soon as I saw
she had a level of energy and just I was winded. I went and met with her at the battered women's shelter, and she was giving me a tour of the place, and it was before it was finished. It was in its early stages, and I think they only had a few rooms that were usable at the time. And she was talking about what she had in mind for the project, and Zoom has crashed again. I'm standing here with my was an amazing force in the Akron and Medina or Summit and Medina County. And she just, if you ever spent time with her, you were winded at the end. You had to feel exhausted after working with her. She just never seemed to stop. It was wonderful. We ended up having Child and Family Leadership Exchange is what it was called. We ended up having a fundraiser for her battered women's shelter, and my band and another band came together at the Musica soundstage in Akron, and we raised over $5,000 for the program.
Wow.
One of the rooms are named after the Child and Family Leadership Exchange, I think it's the med room, they have doctors come in and do exams in. At least that's what we were told it was going to happen. I don't know if it ever happened, but our class, Child and Family Leadership XX class number 20, came and did that. It was a blast. I really enjoyed doing the concert, and it was an awesome resource that we could provide them, and we loved every minute of it. So anyway, that being said, let's say a prayer. So I will say, bow our heads. God of our wanderings and our settling, you guided your people through the wilderness with gifts of manna and water to sustain them. Be with us in our own times of uncertainty and fear. Send your Spirit among us, that your church may be a sign of welcoming in the world. When we are comfortable, open our hearts to our neighbor's discomfort. When we are uncomfortable, sustain us with hope and courage. Bless us that we may be blessings to one another. In your name we pray. Amen.
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 Thank you for joining me this week and making this event or this Bible study a real conversation. Thank you very much for that. And I hope that you'll join us next Wednesday at 7 p.m., where we'll do the same thing once again. And it would be a joy. So if you could join us, or if you're watching on live stream right now, or if you're watching this sometime later in the week and you think maybe you want to join us, you can do so. And you can do that by going to slcw.org and scrolling down the page until you find Wednesday evening Bible study. Click here to join the group. You do that at 7 o'clock, you'll join our group, and we'd love to have you. Now, I'm going to have to, I guess, okay, never mind. I'm not going to talk about that. All right, so we also have Sunday morning Bible study. If you'd like to join us, there's a link for joining that. We also live stream that Bible study as well as our 10 o'clock service. All of those things, except the Bible study isn't replayed on YouTube, but the church service is replayed on YouTube at 7 o'clock. This Bible study will be replayed on YouTube at 9 o'clock tonight. That is, if I get it up and running by then. That was the goal. Anyway, thank you very much for being with us tonight. And I hope to see you all next week.
All right. Good night.
Good night.
Good night, everyone.
Good night.
Good night, Tom.
Good night, Barb.
Good night, Tim.
Good night,
I
John
feel
Boy.
like you're the Waltons.
Good night, John Boy. Good night, Mary Ellen. Good night, Betty.